Hello, friends. Welcome back to Heartscapes, where we are practicing the system of Reiki at the intersection of self-reflection, spiritual practice, and social action. My name is Michaela. Welcome back to the studio. One of the things that I often apply in my own practice and hold space for in classes is the notion of living into our questions. So beautifully articulated by the Reiki poem that invites us to live our questions rather than striving or seeking answers. But sometimes we honestly just want an answer to our question. And I absolutely love receiving your questions and getting the opportunity on this platform to take a bit of a dive into whatever responses I have in my heart and my experience and sharing those here. It's one of the reasons I started this channel. It's one of the values of YouTube is this kind of exchange. And so I wanted to formalize that a little bit because there's patterns to the questions that I get asked here on YouTube and in my classes. And it can be really helpful to just kind of gather those similar questions together, respond to them all at once in this easily digestible format, and put that in a place that people can easily find it. So this video is going to be the first in a series of Ask Heartscapes videos. There'll be a playlist on the channel, and it'll be where I collect questions that come through other videos, that come through classes, that come through conversations, and give you relatively concise responses. Sometimes they won't be concise. If you watch this channel, you know sometimes I can go on and on. But this is the place to do that. And so if in any other video that you're watching, if a question comes up, something that you're curious about in terms of the content from that video, or you need resources to follow or practice what I'm talking about a little bit further, perhaps you've had an experience yourself that you'd like a little bit of insight on. Maybe you just see something cool on this shelf behind me and you want to know about it, or you want to know what some of these books are. Any question of that nature, anything really that I can answer, I'm happy to do so in this series. So use the hashtag AskHeartscapes in any video. That'll make it a little easier to find them. And when I have enough collected, I'll drop a little video into this playlist and give you some responses. Sound good? Excellent. I do want to start by answering a question. Shocker. And this is actually the first part of a multi-part answer to a question that seems simple, but just kind of has a lot of parts to it that I often get asked. And typically this question comes from folks who have had some training or some exposure, some experience with the system of Reiki from the perspective of Western schools of Reiki, and haven't yet really explored or been exposed to perspectives from the Japanese origins of the system. This is common because what we have in the US is a Western form that has evolved over time. There are really good historical reasons why the Japanese roots of this system were subverted when it came into the country. That is history I promise I will not geek out on this video. However, if you're intrigued, I would be happy to make another Ask Heartscapes video on that topic, on some of that history. But the bottom line is that we really have a couple of different branches of Reiki that really operate as almost separate systems. And so I practice Reiki as much as I can from the perspective of its Japanese origins for a variety of reasons. And it has some, again, significant differences. And so oftentimes when I mention to folks who have some Western Reiki training that the system of Reiki from its origins has 5 elements to it. Often I'm asked, what are those 5 elements? I never heard of that before. I'm primarily familiar with hands-on healing as the primary form of practice for the system of Reiki. So what are those 5 elements? And so I'm going to just make a series of short videos that just briefly describes each of those 5 elements and a little bit of how they work together. This will, give an opportunity to explore that question of what are the 5 elements. It'll also give us the opportunity to explore an even more elusive question. Is Michaela capable of making short videos under 10 minutes? Who knows? We shall find out. I'm at 5 minutes now, so I might not make it in this video with all that context on the front end. Okay, but where I want to start with this question, because we have the 5 elements of this system. And as is true with any system of practice or any aspect of culture or any way of thinking or philosophical framework of anything, it came out of a specific worldview. It came out of a particular time and place, a particular way of understanding the world, particular mythologies, particular experiences of a people group. And so I just want to share some of the foundational principles that come from the cultural foundation of the system of Reiki. And those are primarily esoteric Buddhism, Japanese Buddhism, and Shinto, which is the indigenous spiritual practice of Japan, a much longer, much older spiritual tradition. And so, as you can imagine, with such richness and such history, laying the foundation of this system, there is quite a lot to know. And so in this kind of distillation here, I'm just offering 6 principles, foundational principles from those 2 traditions, Shinto and esoteric Japanese Buddhism, that feed directly into the way that the system of Reiki, as a specific practice inside of that longer tradition, functions and invite us into the landscape that this system operates inside of. Sound good? Okay. So we're going to just look at 6 of these foundational principles today. The first one is that everything in the universe is connected, is interconnected with each other, that the entirety of the universe is truly one. That includes you and me and everything else in this universe is one. The force that connects us, that interconnects us, that animates us is Reiki, spiritual energy. Translation of that word from Japanese is spiritual energy. That is the force that connects us. Third, you are Reiki. And Reiki is already you. This is always true. It's always been true. It always will be true. You are spiritual energy. It is in you, and you are inside of that web of connection that is Reiki in all of the universe. You do not need me or anybody else to connect you to Reiki, or to turn a switch on inside of you so that you can access Reiki, or to give you Reiki. You already have it. It already is you. Therefore, all you need to do, and I say that ironically because it's simple but not easy, but all you need to do is to remember that inherent state of interconnection. To simply remember the wholeness of your true self, your grounded, whole Reiki. That is you. All we need to do is remember that we're already whole and connected. Fourth, remembering the wholeness of your true self is the pathway out of suffering. It is healing from the perspective of the system of Reiki. Actually, it is also enlightenment. Again, remembering that this system has at its foundation esoteric Japanese Buddhism. In essence, it's an enlightenment practice put into a more accessible, simple, elegant container. And so remembering the wholeness of your true self is the pathway out of suffering into healing, wholeness, and enlightenment. Fifth, the state of mind and body and behavior that is possessed by one who has released themselves from suffering, who has attained enlightenment, who has remembered the wholeness of their true self, is described by the precepts in the system of Reiki. That the precepts are the foundation of the system, in that they describe the outcome that we are practicing for, the destination that we are journeying to. This is the first of the 5 elements of the system. It is, in essence, the entire system. described in these simple 5 precepts. And so the first element in the system of Reiki is the precepts. Our 6th principle is that the whole rest of the system, the other 4 elements, all of the practices that are inside of each of those elements, is designed to help us live as an embodiment of the precepts, to help us bring those precepts into our heart, our mind, into our life, our behavior, our feelings, our thoughts, our responses, to help us live as an embodiment of the precepts. The whole rest of the system centers on this intention, on this purpose, this outcome of helping us to live as an embodiment of the precepts, to help us remember the wholeness of our true self, and therefore release us from suffering. So there you have it. Those 6 principles are a distillation, a simplification of a complex, very rich, very historied system of thought, of worldview, of perspective that the system of Reiki was born out of in the late 1800s and early 1900s. And that framework helps us to understand the 5 elements of the system, why they're there, how they work together to achieve these outcomes. We'll talk about that in the next set of videos, beginning with the first element, which is the precepts. Now, if you are interested in learning some of the other pieces of this puzzle, of the kind of cultural container that describes the landscape of the system of Reiki, for example, the energetic map that we follow and how it's connected to Shinto origin stories, some of the Buddhist principles that are central in the system. If you're interested in that layer of our foundation, let me know. Drop that in the comments. Use hashtag AskHeartscapes, and I'll be able to find them easier. And if I get a few requests for that, I'll go ahead and add that to our list of videos. Okay, that'll do it for now. I will offer up the next in this series soon, where we will explore the precepts as the first element of the system. And as you journey through these questions, as you journey through the answers that are coming to you, may you be deeply provisioned for that journey. Until next time, thanks for being with me. I love you. Bye-bye.